Hey, what's up, everybody? Stacy here, and welcome to Chargers Talk 4630, your home where we have honest takes, fresh analysis, uncomfortable conversations, and all things Chargers football. Thank you to all the listeners who tune in to us here on YouTube, and for those who listen wherever you get your podcasts. And please like, share, and subscribe, and know that I appreciate you. On a day where Dayan Henley was playing with a broken heart after losing his brother, who was tragically killed at just 34 years old, our hearts and prayers go out to Dayan and his family. May his brother rest in peace. Now, despite the pain he was carrying, Dayan came through with a huge sack that stopped the promising Tennessee drive, a moment that showed a lot of heart while staying focused, as he said he was playing for his brother. The Chargers managed to get out of Nissan Stadium with a 27-20 win. It wasn't pretty by any means. The Titans are one of the league's worst teams in several areas, but a win is a win, and the Bolts escaped with one. Justin Herbert came alive in the second half, using his legs to make key plays that changed the game's momentum. The defense played a bend but don't break style. Out of the Titans' 20 points, 14 came from special teams and defensive scores. A pick six and a punt return, meaning the Chargers didn't actually allow a touchdown in the game. Now, the focus shifts to figuring things out on the offensive line, right? This was a tough time to lose both starting tackles again, especially heading into a matchup next week against a Pittsburgh defense that gets after the quarterback as well as anyone in the league. Joe Alt got rolled up when the defender was blocked into his leg by Sebastian Joseph Day. He had to be carted off, and honestly, it makes you wonder, damn, is this team cursed when it comes to offensive line injuries? Everyone's been hurt at some point this season except for Bradley Bozeman and Zion Johnson. As for Herbert, he finished 19 of 29 for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, plus 57 yards rushing and another touchdown on the ground. He did throw his 8th interception of the season, and he also threw his first pick six, but he bounced back immediately on the next drive, hitting defensive lineman / fullback Scott Matlock for a touchdown to tie the game at 7. After that, Tennessee brought the pressure again, sacking Herbert deep in Chargers territory. Then they took the ensuing punt return to the house for a 14-7 lead. The Chargers responded with a Cameron Dicker field goal to make it 14-10, and then Herbert found Quentin Johnston for a 22-yard score in the corner of the end zone to put the Chargers up 17-14. The Titans tied it up at 17 apiece with a field goal, but the Chargers answered before halftime with another Dicker kick to lead 20-17. Now, after halftime, the offense stalled early, but Herbert came right back with a beautiful throw. And how about Quentin Johnston, man? Adjusted midair for an over-the-shoulder catch. Herbert finished that drive off himself with the rushing touchdown to make it 27-17. Defensively for the Chargers, they gave up some yards but stood tall in the red zone. Odafe Wade was a problem all game long, racking up 2 more sacks. That's 4 in 3 games since joining the team, after none this season with the Baltimore Ravens. Oway finished with 2 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 4 pressures. There were so many people saying they were not impressed with the Chargers' victory. I heard Ben Johnson's victory speech in their locker room after the Bears' wild 47-42 win over the Bengals. Neither defense really showed up. Both teams combined for 89 points, but Johnson told his guys something powerful. Listen to this.
I know it wasn't pretty, but don't apologize for a win in this league, guys. Don't apologize. We did what we had to do.
Don't ever apologize for winning, no matter what it looks like. And when he said that, that statement hit home for me, because in the NFL, every win is earned. It don't matter if it's ugly, sloppy, or down to the wire. It don't matter if it was a good team or a bad team. A win means your team found a way, right? Sometimes it's just about surviving and overcoming adversity. And that's what the Chargers did. Let me just talk about injuries, in particular with the offensive line. This is how I see it and why I'm not as triggered as others are when it comes to the hard-to-watch offensive line of the Chargers. There's really no simple answer to the injury problem in the NFL. The Chargers are not the only team that's dealing with injuries that put a detour, unfortunately, on the direction of a lot of other teams' season. You got the 49ers, the Panthers, the Buffalo Bills, Minnesota Vikings, and I can go on and on. But for this topic, I'm going to stick with the Chargers. It's not just one thing that can be fixed to make injuries disappear, right? Because the truth is, football is a violent, physical sport by nature. You got massive, powerful athletes running full speed, colliding with one another, or doing everything they can to avoid those collisions by cutting, stopping, and changing direction at crazy speeds, right? When that much size and speed and force are involved, sometimes something's bound to give eventually. And then you look at what goes on in the trenches. That's a whole different level of physicality. Offensive and defensive linemen are pushing and pulling, driving each other, trying to gain some kind of leverage while staying balanced, right? There's constant contact every snap. And that's where a lot of those lower body injuries happen, right? Guys getting rolled up from behind, knees and ankles getting twisted underneath the piles, or someone falling awkwardly as the play breaks down. Even when you're doing everything right technically, all it takes is one guy losing his footing or getting pushed back into your leg. Now, you can't really eliminate that. Coaches try to teach better technique. Strength coaches work on flexibility and balance, and teams invest a lot in recovery and prevention. But at the end of the day, it's still football. It's a violent, fast, unpredictable game played by some of the biggest, strongest athletes in the world. Injuries are just a part of the price that comes with it. But here's why I still have a little hope. I went on social media, as I always do yesterday, and I showed my excitement for the win on X and TikTok. I was getting a lot of messages in my DMs. Some were saying, Stacey, we with you. And some were saying, come on, Stacey, you really going to celebrate off that? It's just Tennessee and you guys struggle. You can't possibly think y'all going to the playoffs playing that way. Or you guys are not one of those top teams. Actually, I don't think we're one of the top teams now. We're trying to get there, but I believe we can be one of those teams. And I mean that with everything that I am. And it has nothing to do with emotions as a fan. I just believe that. Let me explain how and why. Look, I'm not naive. I know what this team history looks like. Have we had the same success that the Bills have had since Josh Allen showed up? No. Have we had the same success as the Chiefs when Mahomes showed up? No. What about the Packers with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers? No. Or the Steelers with Terry Bradshaw with that Steel Curtain dynasty? Definitely not. But here's the thing I believe in, and this is just what I feel. And some may look at it as being corny and all. I believe in this thing called faith. I was raised that way by my dad. My dad is a retired minister, and he taught that. That means you have trust and confidence in something even when you can't even see what the results are. That's how I live my life, and I carry that with me everywhere I go. And that's exactly how I feel about this team. Now, I know what the narrative is. Early in the season, y'all schedule was soft, or just wait till the second half of the season and you'll see the real Chargers. But here's how I look at that. Life gets hard sometime, right? But if you keep working at it, things eventually get better. You look at the weather some days, and it calls for thunderstorms and rain all day. Eventually, the storm and the rain stops, and the next day, the sun is shining bright again. Hey, guys, I got to put you on to something I've been checking out. It's a company called Distill Union. They make these slick, minimalistic wallets and magnetic key organizers, right? That just makes life easier. And get this, I've got an exclusive 20% off just for you. All you got to do is go to DistillUnion.com, make your purchase, and don't forget, when you check out, use my code ChargeTalk4630. I earn a small commission when you use my code, so when you buy, you're not only supporting me and the show, you're getting the best deal they offer. In my opinion, it's the same thing with football. You can't just fold because of circumstances, right? If you got to go to work and it's pouring down raining, you get your raincoat, you get your umbrella, and you keep it moving. That's what I'm seeing with this team under Jim Harbaugh, no matter what happens. This man came in here and gave this team structure, accountability, and toughness. I've seen some of the interviews where some of the players on the team were saying how harder the practices are and the expectations are higher. Now, can Harbaugh and Ortiz be criticized for not upgrading the center and guards position on the line? 100%. Going into the preseason, though, you had arguably the best two tackles in football and was banking on Mekhi Becton staying healthy for the rest of the season. Now, if that would have happened, this could have really been a good offensive line. But it's nothing you could do about injuries. It's just totally out of your control. And we didn't even mention losing your two backs with Harris and Hampton. See, under Brandon Staley, things was always uncertain, too many ups and downs, too much finesse, and not enough fight, right? But now you can see it. These guys show grit when things don't look good. And sometimes it does look messy, but they never quit, and they keep fighting to the end. And we sometimes make it seem like their job is so easy that we could do it, and we can't. That's a tough job, and there's not many people who can play in the NFL. We were 11-6 last year and in the playoffs with no receivers outside of Ladd McConkey. Harbaugh's changing not just how they play, but how they think. But they can't do anything about the injuries. Let's talk about this team's offense for a second. Justin Herbert, man, this dude is coming to his own. I've seen the evolution of a lot of great quarterbacks over the decades, and I see that with Justin Herbert this season. It's not even about the stats anymore. It's about how he carries himself. You can see the leadership growing, how he's taking charge, how he's speaking up, how he's owning the team, the maturation, running more, wanting it more. I see it. Amarian Hampton is a different kind of beast, and he was just starting to hit his stride before he got injured. Harbaugh wants toughness and heart. And when your run game shows up, it changes everything. You're not relying on Herbert to do everything by himself. The offensive line has been leaky all season, but some of that's to be expected when your entire offensive line is depleted with injuries. So Harbaugh and Greg Roman can't just stop teaching and working these guys because those are your linemen that you have. So you got to keep working at it. You got to keep teaching with different schemes until you can find something they can latch on to that they can do well. But this is what you have. I give the coaching staff a lot of credit for having this team at 6-3 with all that they had to overcome. The receivers are not trying to win track meets anymore. They're trying to outwork you. They're trying to outlast you. And they're trying to out-tough you. I've been a Charger fan for 48 years now. I've seen it all. The highs, the lows, the heartbreaks, the ups and downs, the what just happened moments. But here's the thing. I've also lived long enough to experience some really tough times in my life. But as time went on, things got better. There were moments in my life when things were dark and I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. How many times we've been there? But I fought my butt off and eventually I saw the light. Things did get better. And that same belief, that same faith is part of who I am. It's in my DNA. So when people say, Stacey, look, the Chargers ain't going to never win a championship. That's why I can't accept that. See, all these things work together, right? Because if I ever stop believing that something good can happen in life when things weren't good, then what's the point? What are we doing? Yeah, I know how tough the Chargers schedule is going to get. I know we got some big dogs coming down the stretch. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, but you want those games. I want those games. You need those games. That's how you find out who you really are, when you are going up against the best. I know you don't get respect beating the Panthers and the Titans or the Jets. I get that. You get respect when you beat the teams that people say you can't. And my mindset is simple. If not now, when? We got the difference maker at head coach. We got, in my opinion, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. We got more than capable receivers. We have an ascending tight end in Rondé Gaston. We got Khalil Mack and Derwin James leading the way on defense. So I'm asking, if not now, when? I see a team that's not giving up. Y'all know me well enough now from my years on here and on X. I will never throw in the towel. Even if I was playing Monopoly, Jacks, Checkers, or Madden football on Xbox, I'm always trying to win. I'm just not built to think any other way. Look, I don't know how this season is going to end. It may not end well with all the injuries, but who knows? None of us do. But at some point, the tide's got to turn, right? There's an end to everything, right? Hell, life eventually ends. Hard times and struggles when you don't give up and you keep pushing forward and you keep fighting. What you do, you change your results. And I'm going to keep believing in that. And maybe, just maybe, that same thing can happen with the Chargers. Because if we don't believe it's possible, if the team don't believe it's possible, then why even show up? Forfeit the season. But you still got to go play the games. So yeah, and pardon me, but maybe sometimes I'm too optimistic for some people. Maybe I'm too loyal, but I'd rather go down believing that I can't give up on something that I still think has a chance to become great. And if things don't work out how you hope, life keeps moving. Life keeps lifing. You adapt, you learn, you keep fighting, and you keep believing. That's all I know. It's called confidence without evidence. You can't see the outcome, but you believe in the process. And I'm going to finish with this. Let this always stay with you for the rest of your life. Faith doesn't quit. You hear me? Belief doesn't quit. And neither do I, and neither should you. This is Chargers Talk 4630. I'm Stacey, and I'll see y'all next time. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep getting great Chargers content and also some real-life conversations. I'll see y'all later. Enjoy the rest of your week. Talk to you soon.